All right, hello everyone. Theodore Burns here again for week number 8 of the Formula Sprint lap walkthrough. This week we're at Circuit Park Zandvoort, the national circuit, and this week I ran a 105.582, so that's currently sitting 7th in the practice times. I've seen down to a 104.9, and that's really fast, but this should be a fast enough lap for you guys this week to hopefully you can get some pointers. So without ado, let's watch a lap. All right, and so there we have a lap around Zandvoort. So I should preface this by saying I just bought this track, so it's not it's extremely new to me. I've done one practice session prior to this one, so probably only about 30 or so laps on the circuit. So still a little bit rusty getting a hang of it. For sure, going to be getting smoother and faster throughout the week here. So just like to preface everything with that. But without ado, let's get into the lap here. Starting off, braking down into the first corner. It's a 180-degree corner, so I like to try and brake as late as possible. So I'm looking to brake after this white line across the track here for pit exit. I've seen you can go as deep as the 50 marker, but I like to brake a little bit before that, a little bit more consistent. So as we're rolling up here, going to be hitting the brakes right after I cross over the white line, about halfway into the 50 board. Going to be coming all the way down to second gear for this corner. And now I found another thing this week is that I like to run my brake bias a little bit farther back than I usually do. It's about 55.5, which is 8 clicks down from the baseline setup. I'm finding I'm still getting a lot of front locks because there's a lot of undulation in the track this week, a lot of banking and so forth. So still getting slight bit of front lock here coming into the corner, but it's extremely early turn in. Try and carry a bit of trail brake, but I like to roll as much speed into these corners as possible. Because there's a lot of banking, we can carry a lot of speed, and we really want to try and avoid the curbs on the inside and just kind of stay snug to them on the inside. So once I get about halfway through the corner, I've still got that trail brake all the way down to second gear. I can feel the car start to rotate, and that's when I can get back on power. And it's a pretty quick ease into power for the first corner here. But we'll find some of the later corners of the track, it's going to be a very smooth power application. Second gear up to third, and you can really drive the car out of this. Get the left side tires up here onto this curb. No worry about any off tracks there. 1X is pretty smooth, simple flying through there. Guess we'll keep this going here for the next session here, next couple corners. For the right-hand corner up here, I'm going to be coming up to the top of fourth gear, and I like to stay in fourth gear. We'll have a bit of tap of the brakes, and notice I'm braking right near the end of this curbing over here. I'm going to try and keep the the left side tires off of the curb and brake right around when the car is getting to the end of the curb there. And I want to make sure I have a very sharp and abrupt turn and into this corner, while still staying smooth on the wheel, because I want to try and get the car down as tight to the curb as possible. I don't want to hit the curb, otherwise it's a great way to end up in the black wall over here. But there's kind of a little bit dip here, and we have a little bit of camber in the track to help us corner. So if we're even half a car off of here, it's going to be really hard to carry this much speed through the corner, and we'll end up over in the grass because it really flattens out as you crest up over the hill here on exit. So you see I'm able to get slowly back into throttle there as I'm coming through the corner because I know that I've gotten it down tight, right down to the apex, and so I'm not gonna fly off the track too much here. And it's a quick little burst, full throttle, coming into the left-hand next hairpin here on the track. So this one's down to second gear, and it's carrying a bit of trail brake, but it seems like it's a pretty early, release on the trail brake coming in because I want to, again, try and carry as much speed as possible. There we go again with the front lock and some of the undulation as the car is loading. And so I want to carry quite a bit of speed into here, and you'll see I'll start to get a little bit of throttle to try and power the car uphill here. I don't want to get too much and track out, but this again, you don't want to hit the curb here on the left-hand side. You want to get nice and tight to it. This is also a corner you can be about half a car width off of this and still carry quite a bit of speed, and not lose a whole lot of time through the corner here. So I get back out of throttle to help rotate it back around, get it right back down onto the curbing here, but then I get right back in about half throttle. And again, it's getting the car extremely close to that curb, but yet not actually touching it, getting the left side tires right onto it because it will upset us quite a bit. And then as the track starts to level out here, easing back into the throttle, seeing we can get up into full throttle and kind of balance out the rear of the car so it doesn't oversteer too much with the steering wheel because we have quite a bit of room to track out. And it's going to be flat out from there. So it's quite a few corners there. So let's go back and play through that whole section one more time in real speed for you guys. All right, so coming up to yet another hairpin on the Zandvoort track. This one's quite tricky because it's pretty blind. We're in the middle of a left-hand corner, and all of a sudden we have to hairpin back to the right. So it's kind of a bit of a dog leg brake zone. So coming into this, it's hard to get a really good sight line of where to brake for this. So I see this board over here on the right-hand side of the track, this white board, and I'm going to end up driving past that, and I'm looking, I'm looking for this curbing here on the left-hand side of the track. So after I drive past that board and I can start to see the curbing, and basically I can get the curbing, turn the wheel straight, so I'm headed straight into the hairpin there, and that's when I can brake. And so I feel if you drive a little bit too deep into the corner, we lose a lot of the track in the corner, and it's hard to get the car slowed down and stay tight into the hairpin here. Again, hard on the brakes, straight on the steering wheel. And so now we start turning back uphill here. Again, a lot of track undulation. And so this first corner of the hairpin here, I want to try and take this as tight as possible onto the curbing. So this is a little bit more than I usually like to take, but the right side tire is actually on the grass. But this is still not a 1X. It'd be a little bit farther over once you get a full car width over before you actually get a 1X for corner cutting there, but no slowdown. And it's extremely important to try and keep it real tight on the double apex here. So again, it's all the way down to first gear. Let the car rotate through, and try and bring it down again to the next apex right here as we rejoin the Grand Prix track coming around. And it's getting in throttle, and now we kind of crest up over the hill here, and the track really drops out. So we have to be extremely careful on throttle application to not spin the rear tires. So in this instance, I like to use a short shift up to second gear. See, the tires are already starting to light up a little bit in the back. I'm still only about 75% throttle, and I'm going to go ahead and give it a bit of a short shift there into second gear as I'm still spinning the rear tires, and I'm still trying to track out, just manage the tire spin here as I try and drive out of the corner. Still may have a little bit here in second gear, but then by the time we hit third gear, we should be completely done spinning the tires. So we'll play through that section one more time, real speed here. Okay, coming up to the last couple corners here. This section, so for this right-hand corner, I'm looking for the curbing over here on the left-hand side of the track. About where the 50 board is when I'm going to start braking. It's about a little bit after I've passed the start of the curbing. So right around, just prior to that 50 board is what I'm looking for my brake zone. So see, I've passed the curbing, and there I'm braking just prior to the 50-meter board. So you can stay in fourth gear there, sometimes go up into fifth, but you have to be careful if you do go into fifth not to drive in too deep into this corner. So I like to come down to third and actually get down into second gear. And because the track really dives out on us here, we want to make sure we have a really early turn into this corner and really clip this first curb quite a bit. We can get all the way up onto the big curb over to the right of the car there, actually, and you can take almost all of this without gaining a 1x. And so you want to do that so we get a nice straight entrance into yet another 180 coming back to the left-hand side here. So try and take as much of that curb as possible. I can even get a little bit of throttle to help kind of drive me down into the corner here. And it's getting right back and putting the left side tires entirely onto the red and white curbing here, almost up over onto the gray part of the curb on the far left-hand side there. Now, use a little bit of trail brake to keep the car down here on the bottom of the corner, but again, I can carry quite a bit of speed through the corner here, and so I start to get back on throttle pretty early. But it's a slow application, easing into the throttle until I've gotten the car completely rotated through the corner there. And then once I can see the exit, that's when I can ease in full throttle and let the car track out here and use all of the curbing on the right-hand side and really drive out of the corner as fast as possible. So play through that one more time. So coming up to the last corner here, I like to look up here on the left-hand side of the track. The antenna's kind of blocking it. For right where the white line on the track start to kind of split a little bit, I like to get my left side tires real close to that. Gotta be careful not to actually put the tires onto the grass there. And that's when I'm hitting the brakes for this corner. It's just a light tap of the brakes to help bring the nose of the car down as we lose a lot of the track there. And again, it's another really early turn in so we can get all the way down onto the curbing. You can use as much of this curbing as possible. It doesn't affect the car. I like to try and get the right side tires, again, completely on the red and white curbing, if not over here onto the gray stuff. And once you actually get the car down, rotated onto the curbing, we can get on throttle pretty aggressively as we try and drive out. So I usually like to try and stay in fourth gear in this corner, especially if I have a nice run into it. But I can go down to third gear, and then I'll be right back up to fourth here. But most of the time I like to try and stay in fourth because it's right in the nice power band, use a lot of the torque of the engine, and we'll end up driving out of it a little bit faster than if we go down to third gear. Yep, it's fourth gear, and then it's flat out, just hugging the far right-hand side of the track for the last corner here. So I think we can play through the last one here in real speed, and we'll go through this corner one more time and take us to the end. All right, and so there we have the 105.582 lap around Zandvoort. So hopefully that helps you guys out with a couple little pointers, sight lines and stuff for this week, and hopefully you can get your lap times down. And as always, I will see you guys out there on track. Good luck this week.